Amazing humans, how you doing out there? So, we're doing it. We're doing the victory tour. Donald Trump went to speak in front of the Israeli Knesset. He said, "We did it. We only committed genocide for 2 years." This is very exciting, folks. This is what it means to be true peacemakers. You only commit genocide for 2 years. That is all we are. What great human beings we are. Listen to Donald Trump. He'll tell you we only did it for 2 years. This is a U.S. Israel genocide, went on for 2 years. We only killed hundreds of thousands. Good for us. Victory. Well done. We are peacemakers. We are good human beings. We care about humanity. We care about others. We only committed genocide for 2 years. A lot of other people would have done it longer. We only did the 2-year genocide. That ain't much. That ain't much in the scope of things. Think about it. Dinosaurs ruled the earth for 150 million years. We only committed genocide for 2 years. You got to think about it. It's all relative, okay? I feel like people aren't keeping it relative. Very exciting. No, obviously, I'm for any kind of ceasefire. I just think we need to keep it in perspective that this has been 2 years of U.S.-Israel genocide. And anyway, you know, every mainstream media outlet is jumping for joy. And I'm going to mainly bring you the stuff that's not being covered. You can get the kind of the nuts and bolts of a lot of this from other sources, but here's from Drop Site News about how exactly Israeli soldiers have been torching Gaza as they've been leaving parts of it. As you guys have probably seen the map there, under the deal, they're supposed to leave a certain percentage of Gaza. And so as they're leaving these certain areas, they are burning down as much of Gaza as they can. Just to commit a little more ethnic cleansing and destruction of a whole society as they go. And one of the things that they torched, and by the way, they're bragging about this on online media about how they're burning down Gaza as they leave certain areas of it. The Israeli military launched an arson spree, setting fire to civilian infrastructure, including the destruction of an essential sanitation plant in Gaza City. The destruction of Palestinian structures following the departure of soldiers who had used them as temporary bases has been a hallmark of Israel's approach to Gaza for 2 years. In July, Israeli reporter Yuval collected testimonies from soldiers describing a myriad of arson methods. Quote, "Every Arab house we entered had olive oil. We poured the oil on the sofas, on anything flammable in the apartment, and then we ignited it or threw in a smoke grenade. This was common practice for everywhere they went." You got to remember, as the accusations without any proof, that this has been ethnic cleansing, that this has been genocide. You got to remember, with all those accusations, there's soldiers admitting it. It's not. You can read their statements. You can look on their posts, on their Telegram posts, etc., showing them what photos committing genocide. It's not a secret to anybody who wants to pretend it's not happening or hasn't happened. In September, Israeli government minister Gamliel told Channel 7 News, quote, and I think showed this on Unredacted Tonight 2 weeks ago or last week, we have already completely annihilated 75% of the entire Gaza Strip. There remains 25%, which, as you know, we are now taking over the city of Gaza. There will be nothing left there that would really have the potential to be habitable. Basically saying we're making the place uninhabitable intentionally, which, again, ethnic cleansing. So they're doing this as they leave certain areas of Gaza. We can all hope that this is a real ceasefire and actually continues to hold in terms of, like, at least not bombing, at least certain things, at least allowing aid in, etc. But don't let them whitewash this. Don't let them tell you, "Oh my God, it's over. Okay, we can all move on with our life." It was a fucking genocide. Even if it did stop today, even if it all stopped today, still a genocide. And that is the topic at hand. And Trump one of the biggest genocider-in-chiefs we've had. Yeah, it started under Biden. Trump continued it for a year. In a second, I'll show you my column I just wrote on how Trump could have stopped this at any point, and he chose not to because he was fine with genocide. The scope of the arson perpetrated in Gaza City on the night of October 9th and early morning of October 10th, Thursday night to Friday, just after the ceasefire was agreed to, but before Israel's cabinet had approved it, was broader than any time that Dropside News has been tracking. Here's a photo posted by one of the soldiers proudly burning Gaza. Among the structures that they discovered had been set on fire by the departing soldiers was the Sheikh Ajlan sewage treatment station, a central component of Gaza City's sanitation network. This is, among other things, what stops Gaza from having to dump pure sewage into the ocean, which then kills the ocean. And this wastewater treatment plant has now been entirely burned down. The director of the municipal water utility said the attack is a blow that could push Gaza City's wastewater system to point zero. He added the plant is one of Gaza's oldest and warned that its destruction will set back planned reconstruction efforts by years. I mean, they signed a ceasefire. Why set it on fire? Well, we know why, because they still want to commit genocide, even if they signed a ceasefire or not. Here's just a montage of all the fires being set around Gaza. This is, 9 photos in that little page alone of just kind of endless giant building fires being set by the IDF as they leave. So yeah, it's just total peace, right? It's just peace. Here's 9 more images of burning fires. This is what Israel considers ceasefire. Just burn the place down as they go, and Trump gets to do his victory lap and say, "Look at me, I'm the peace president." By the way, speaking of peace, later in this episode, I will bring to you how the Nobel Peace Prize was given to, or at least was it the Nobel Peace Prize? Just in one of the other Nobel Prizes. Anyway, Nobel Prize given to essentially the U.S. effort to coup Venezuela. And I'll get into more of those details a little later in the show. Also, while this ceasefire has been being implemented, Israel did not want to stop being at war, right? Because we can't have that. Here's video of them bombing Lebanon at the same time. So yeah, bombing the shit out of Lebanon as they sign the ceasefire deal in Gaza, because Israel views it as an existential threat to not be at war. As long as they're at war, they have much more support from the United States in terms of billions of dollars in arms being sent to them, right? 30 some odd billion dollars, whatever the actual exact number was, just since this genocide began 2 years ago. So that's just reason number one. As long as they have wars going on, they have far more U.S. support. I mean, they have U.S. support anyway, but a lot more. On top of that, Netanyahu is far less likely to be put in prison when there are wars going on. On top of that, you just have that Israel, the economy, the society is now a war society. They would collapse without wars ongoing, as well as U.S. financial support. Israel would be done for. So they need wars to keep going. They felt that they were actually at the point that they needed to put forward this or sign some sort of ceasefire to get the final Israeli hostages back. But they don't want to stop wars. God forbid they'd not be killing people around the region. So they immediately bombed Lebanon. Not hearing as much about that in the mainstream media. But anyway, let's get to some of the other details. Again, Dropsite News has been doing great on this. All living Israeli captives and hundreds of Palestinians released. And you'll notice Dropsite does what most media does not do. what most mainstream media does not do, which is not call these Palestinian prisoners. Hold on, I'll actually show you that first. Here is, because why should Israelis be hostages and Palestinians be prisoners, right? It makes one of them sound dirty and evil, and the other one sound innocent and good. But here's from Reuters. Palestinians rushed to embrace prisoners. So let's be clear. These are prisoners, right? They're not hostages. They're not innocent people. They're prisoners. Then they say under a U.S. brokered ceasefire. This is, again, Reuters propaganda. Oh, U.S. brokered ceasefire, right? But this wasn't a U.S. funded and armed genocide, was it? You don't give that detail when you, whatever you call it, whatever you describe what's been going on there. It's not a U.S. funded and armed and allowed and perpetrated genocide. No. But it is a U.S. brokered ceasefire deal. They then say prisoners were released after the Hamas militant group, got to call it a militant group because can't just say Hamas is a political party, right? Hamas militant group, but they don't call Israel the militant regime. They don't call Israel. They don't call IDF the militant group. It's just the IDF. But let's make clear, Hamas militant, Israel not militant at all. Fucking no. When has Israel ever been militant? Huh? What about Israel's militant? I've never seen Israel act militant. No way. Then it says, freed the last 20 living hostages. So again, Israelis are hostages. Palestinians are prisoners because Palestinians are criminals. Israelis are not. Hostages taken during the October 7th, 2023 attacks. Let's remind everyone, October 7th, in case you forgot, October 7th. Let's tell everyone, October 7th. And then they say that precipitated the war in Gaza, but in fact, there'd been an ongoing war on Gaza when you have people trapped in an open-air prison camp with limited amount of food, water, everything else, and you occasionally just murder a bunch of them. That's really a war. That's an ongoing war, isn't it? Wouldn't you call it? Should you call it that, maybe? Then Reuters continues their subtle propaganda. Israel is set to release 250 Palestinians convicted of murder and other serious crimes. What they don't mention is that Palestinians convicted under the Israeli system, they can be convicted for nothing. They could have done nothing. They're just convicted of murder because most of them get, if they're seen by a judge, most of them are not seen by a judge, but if they are seen by a judge, that judge usually spends about 60 seconds deciding whether to convict the Palestinians, and they convict them 99% of the time. So it's really a meaningless judicial system. It's not a judicial system. It is a bullshit judicial system. So Reuters can say, oh, they're convicted of murder and criminals, awful. Yeah, are they? Are they? Or is that just something Israel tells you to make you feel good about it? Then they say, as well as we'll also release 1,700 Palestinians detained in Gaza. Oh, but these were not convicted of serious crimes, were they? So what are they? What are those 1,700 people detained in Gaza that includes at least some women and children that we won't call women and children? What are they? Oh, they're maybe innocent people. Maybe people that did nothing and have been grabbed up by Israel. So Israel has hostages. Is that what they're hostages. Oh, Reuters. Funny. I've never seen you use the word hostages when it has to do with Palestinians, huh? They then continue to elucidate that 22 of these are Palestinian minors. What would we call a Palestinian? Would we call them children? Just wondering, because when you want people to feel bad for something, you say something was done to children. If you say Palestinian minors, it just clouds it in your mind enough. It's, maybe they meant, even though it's misspelled, maybe they meant they were mining for iron ore. Maybe they worked in the coal mines. Maybe that's what they were. By the way, New York Times, which does their version of this same propaganda, still cannot call them Palestinian children or even minors. They said that Israel had released 22 Palestinian people under 18. I posted it on my Twitter. 22 Palestinian people under 18. Oh, what are Palestinian people under 18? What do we consider those? Oh, do we consider them children? Oh, okay. I wasn't sure what you meant there. Palestinian people under 18. Then they say they also are releasing, Israel is also releasing to Hamas the bodies of 360 militants. Oh, who decided they were militants? Was it Israel killing them? Was it when Israel bombed areas and just said anyone we killed was militants? Are you sure, Reuters? How much extra research, Reuters, did you do to make sure they were militants? Did you do loads of research, or did you ask Israel? What are all the bodies? Oh, they're militants. Oh, they're militants. Okay. Well, then they're clearly militants because Israel said so. Oh, yeah. Then they say they're talking about Hamas releasing the hostages, and they say a dozen masked and black-clad gunmen, members of Hamas's armed wing. Wow, that was descriptive. Wow, that was poetic almost. Do they describe the IDF they say that same way? When IDF soldier walks out, do they say a man in menacing military fatigues, camouflage so that he can murder people without being spotted, walked out into the forefront, a member of Israel's armed militant group? Is that how they describe it? Or do they just say IDF soldiers? Huh. Do you think that has any impact on people's minds, their brains? One of them is called a masked and black-clad gunman of Hamas's armed wing. The other one is called the soldiers of Israel. Wow. One sounds much more pleasant, doesn't it? So this is Reuters, propaganda about what has just gone down. Here is, so let's get, now that I've shown you how the mainstream media, a little bit of how the mainstream media is covering it, let's go back to drop site. All living Israeli captives and hundreds of Palestinians have been released. 63 Palestinians were confirmed killed by the health ministry over the past 24 hours. This is during the ceasefire. Most of those, 60 of those, were recovered bodies, because when Israel stops bombing, it's easier to recover bodies. At least 39 Palestinians were wounded during this ceasefire time in the past couple days, or past day, 24 hours. The ministry said many bodies remain buried under destroyed buildings and streets. Ambulance and civil defense crews continue to face difficulties reaching them. Roughly 500,000 Palestinians have returned to northern Gaza since the ceasefire went into effect. The UN said that critical aid, including food, medicine, and shelter, is now entering Gaza in a humanitarian scale-up, with cooking gas, tents for displaced families, frozen meat, fruit, flour, and medical supplies delivered for the first time since March. Since fucking March. This is the first time they've been able to get food and medical supplies in there. Hundreds of thousands of hot meals and bread bundles have been distributed in northern and southern Gaza as access restrictions eased. The UN added that this is only the start of its 60-day plan under the ceasefire, aiming to expand operations to provide life-saving aid and services to nearly all residents. Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, this is the group of militias that Israel and the U.S. created to distribute food while killing people. Anyway, GHF food distribution sites are temporarily closed, with GHF saying the move is part of tactical changes during prisoner transfers. Because it's no longer, basically during the ceasefire, it's not as useful for them to be murdering people at the distribution sites. They never cared about actually distributing food. It was all fake. It was all designed to confuse you into thinking that Israel was actually distributing food. So GHF kind of has served its purpose, and it's not needed anymore. The UN is preparing to take over food deliveries. 170,000 tons of supplies ready once cleared by Israel. 600 trucks per day are supposed to be allowed in. Who knows whether Israel will actually do it. Over 2,600 Palestinians have been killed at or near the GHF sites trying to get food, because they were doing the horrible thing of trying to get food. Thank you, Dan, for supporting the show. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. Keep fighting, my friend. At least 463 Palestinians, including 157 children, have died as a result of famine and malnutrition. And of course, that number is very low, because those are the ones that go to some form of hospital or clinic or someone who can actually account for the fact that this child has died from malnutrition, whereas most people, especially in a destroyed society, are stuck in places or not. I mean, there's barely any hospitals left. So how are you going to get the child to a hospital? And so they just die. There's no one sitting there with a little pad and pen saying, okay, add it to the tally. In the wake of Israel's partial withdrawal, armed Palestinian groups accused of collaborating with Israel have clashed with security forces and resistance fighters in Gaza City. This is something else that's been done by Israel. There are, believe it or not, because any society, especially a society that is being genocided, there are Palestinians that are basically, Israel's collaborators. Who knows what Israel offers these people to do this? I mean, it's kind of like in the concentration camps. There were a small number, relatively, but a number of Jews who were paid or whatever, given perks by the Nazis to basically act as guards, and that shit happens when you're being genocide. Anyway, Israel uses these groups in Gaza and arms them to basically commit murder and do what Israel would want done. But Israel gets to say, it wasn't us. So that's what this is. Heavy clashes erupted between members of a Palestinian armed group accused of being collaborators and security forces late Sunday. Officials said displaced civilians were also killed. Buses carrying dozens of Palestinian captives freed from Israeli detention arrived in the occupied West Bank and Gaza on Monday as part of the ceasefire agreement. Palestinian captives include, did those numbers, 1,700 seized from Gaza without charge, 250 serving life sentences that had been charged, but that doesn't mean the charges are true. Who knows how many actually were genuinely, accurately charged by Israel. Monday's release still leaves 1,300 Palestinians from Gaza in Israeli custody. Oh, what would we call those? Oh, hostages. Israel still has 1,300. That's just Gazan hostages. They have a lot of hostages from West Bank. They have a lot of hostages of other Palestinians that lived in neither West Bank nor Gaza. So Israel still has thousands of hostages. After the ceasefire deal, even if they went by every detail of the ceasefire deal, they would still have thousands of hostages. Hamas released all 20 remaining Israeli captives. Israeli lawmakers chanted Trump's name and gave him repeated standing ovations. Feed his ego, because everyone's afraid of him. Who knows what he'll do next? So just feed the ego. Feed that sad little hole in that poor little man's soul because his daddy didn't love him. Just feed it. Feed it. That's what he should say every time he gets up to give a speech. The first word should be, feed my hollow soul because daddy didn't love me. And then he could go into his speech. Trump said generations from now, this will be remembered as a genocide. Sorry. I jumped ahead there. That's let me see. Oh, that's not what he said. Okay. Oh, I was way off. Oh my God, I was off. No, he didn't. He didn't say that at all. He said generations from now, this will be remembered as the moment that everything began to change. He told lawmakers, you've won. I mean, you've won. Nailed it, Donnie. On Iran, which the U.S. bombed earlier this year, Trump said the hand of friendship and cooperation is always open. Yeah, is it? Is it? On Lebanon, Trump said the dagger of Hezbollah aimed at Israel has been totally shattered. A, no, it hasn't, but B, Hezbollah's not been shattered, but B, the dagger of Hezbollah. You mean someone that dares try and stop Israel from committing genocide? Yeah, what assholes they are. Trump called on the Israeli president to pardon Prime Minister Netanyahu because they're both a president and a prime minister. He told he asked the president of Israel to pardon Netanyahu, whom he described as one of the greatest wartime leaders, one of the genociders I've known. He is one of the best, just one of the greatest genocidal, frothing at the mouth, bloodthirsty lunatics I've ever known. And Trump has known a lot. So that's high praise. That is high fucking praise. He's known a lot of genocidal maniacs. After wrapping up the speech, Trump is now en route to Egypt, where he will attend a summit there of Arab leaders. And that's already going on. And of course, they did the same thing. Feed his ego, take big photos. We love you, Donnie boy. You created peace after committing 2 years of genocide. He noted the context of heavy casualties in Gaza with, this is what Trump said, probably 60,000 people lost. So even Trump's number of how many have been killed in this genocide is 60,000. Now, you and I know that if you take what the Lancet Medical Journal says, if you add in famine and disease, we're easily talking in the hundreds of thousands. Very few people that actually take those things into account are refuting those numbers. However, some people want to, some true Zionist idiots want to say, oh, no, it hadn't been that many. It's been mainly Hamas. Even Donald Trump says 60,000 people have been killed by Israel. Trump responded to a question about Netanyahu's refusal to say the war in Gaza is over. So I guess Netanyahu was asked that and wouldn't give an answer. Trump said the war is over. The war is over. The war is over. But God, he has such a way with words, doesn't he? We got to put in, his speeches will go down as the greatest just pinnacle of oratory this world has ever seen. We just amazing. I mean, I don't know if he has ghostwriters. I don't know how he comes up with this stuff. But listen to this. I'm going to say it again. I can't say it with his gravitas, but here we go. Ready? The war is over. The war is over. The war is over. Okay? Do you understand that? Wow. Wow. Mwah. Magnifique. That was just fucking beautiful. Shakespeare, eat your heart out. He also said the ceasefire is going to hold, and we're going to make sure it holds. Hamas Political Bureau member Mohammed Nazal called any attempt to disarm the resistance, because this was something else in Trump's 20-point plan, was that Hamas would be completely disarmed. But people have pointed out, A, that if you disarm all resistance, then it's just allowing genocide. But also, people have pointed out that it would be nearly impossible to actually disarm all these people. Because when you say Hamas, it's very vague. It's basically, a lot of average people who decided to take up arms because they were being genocided. But on top of that, what type of weapons do these people have? A lot of them have homemade stuff. So to say, disarmed, it's unclear how you would even achieve that. But anyway, Hamas spokesperson has said to disarm the resistance or transfer its arms to an Arab party, absolutely out of the question. Hamad also added that Hamas is closely monitoring the ceasefire, the entry and distribution of aid, and remains in daily contact with mediators. He said the movement will decide responsive steps in the coming hours and days to ensure full implementation on the ground. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to come back to a little bit more on the ceasefire in just a second, but I just wanted to read some more of these news updates. China warned it's not afraid of a trade war after Trump vowed to impose new 100% tariffs on Chinese imports in response to a report that Beijing had imposed export controls on rare earth minerals. The Chinese Ministry of Commerce accused Washington of a textbook double standard, saying the U.S. has long abused national security justifications, export controls, and unilateral sanctions. Global markets fluctuated over uncertainty over the threats of a new trade war and limitations on rare earth exports from China that are required for advanced commercial and military manufacturing. And some have pointed this out, like years ago, that China has a near monopoly on a lot of these rare earth minerals that are needed for weapons systems, that are needed for technology. And so if we were to do a true Cold War with China, then we're not going to be able to make weapons and things like that. Not only do they have a near monopoly on the minerals, they also have a near monopoly on the ability to, what's the term, make the minerals useful for technology. To produce the actual chips and things. So many people have been pointing out for years that we can't go that hard on China or they could cut this off. Well, what are they doing? They're starting to cut it off. And Trump is so angry that he's yelling 100% more tariffs, which of course just sends global markets into a spiral. And it shows how desperate we are. It shows how desperate the waning U.S. empire is. We don't have the things we need to control the world. Oh, woe is me. All right, so I wanted to point this out. I wrote about the ceasefire, wrote a Substack column about it. You can find it my Substack for free, leecamp.substack.com. And no, reallycamp.substack.com. I always get it wrong, so maybe you should just go to Linktree and find it there. There it is, reallycamp.substack.com. This column is free to read. And it is about how we should not run around celebrating Trump as a peacemaker because he could have ended this genocide at any point during his term. So could Biden. And I talk about I give just one example of Politico essentially admitting that Trump could have done this but they're doing it in different words. So the mainstream media is quietly saying this. Here's a quote from Politico. After Israel bombed Doha, Qatar, in early September, the Qataris, who were the leading mediators between Israel and Hamas, wanted to pull out of the peace process. Trump, who has a long-standing relationship with Qataris, issued a surprisingly sharp rebuke of the Israeli attack and would soon offer an unprecedented security guarantee to back his promise that nothing like that would happen again. Trump extended his public olive branch in tandem with his administration's private outreach to Qatar and other Arab nations. So they're admitting that the reason this, and then they go on to talk about the Hamas deal. They go on to, so they're basically admitting that basically what changed is Trump was willing to give a larger or more adamant, security guarantee, which could have done that at any time, right? I will stop Israel from bombing the shit out of you if you give up the hostages. Could have done that at any time. Second thing he did was give out an olive branch to other Arab countries. Could have done that at any time. So there's absolutely no reason this genocide needed to go, at all. But once Trump got into office, he could have ended this immediately. He chose not to because he also is a genocidal maniac. So that's over on my Substack if you want to read that article and share it. I thought I'd show this video again. I think I've shown it months ago. This is Gaza before, a portion of Gaza before and after the bombing by Israel. I know some of you are listening to the podcast and you might not be able to see this, but from a satellite view, it's just completely, it's not just decimated, it is cleared. There's nothing, as Israel ministers have said, it's uninhabitable. There's nothing left in a lot of these areas of Gaza. And that, again, is by design. So to pretend that, it's over, we're done, yay, hurrah, peace, it's just laughable when you look at what Israel has done. By the way, Jared Kushner apparently is going to have a prominent role in the the ongoing cleanup, rebuilding of Gaza if Israel were to continue along this ceasefire deal. If you need a reminding, here's Kushner a few years ago talking about Gaza.
Sides are spending a fortune on military. I think neither side really
too fast. Hold on.
Sides are spending a fortune on military. I think neither side really wants to have a terrorist organization enclave right between them. And Gaza's waterfront property. It could be very valuable to if people would focus on kind of building up livelihoods. You think about all the money that's gone into this tunnel network and into all the munitions. If that would have gone into education or innovation, what could have been done? And so I think that it's a little bit of an unfortunate situation there. But I think from Israel's perspective, I would do my best to move the people out and then clean it up. Sides are spending.
Move the people out and clean it up. And it is great. And by the way, he's made billions of dollars from real estate, as did his father. to Donald Trump, and he's called it just a great real estate area. We could just take over the Gaza, and it'd just be a great real estate area to move all those people out. Yeah, that's the definition of ethnic cleansing, you fucking clown. Did you forget the definition of ethnic cleansing? He called it great waterfront property. So yet again, we're putting him in a significant position of power in terms of what happens next in Gaza. And then this next story goes back to the fact that Israel has been arming and facilitating gangs, collaborating gangs in Gaza to do their dirty work. And those gangs have, since the ceasefire, this was after the ceasefire, killed a very well-known journalist, Saleh al-Jafarari. I can't pronounce it. Really was trying to get it right. I just fucking suck at it. Anyway, he has been doing great reporting throughout this genocide, and then he's killed after the ceasefire. One of Gaza's most well-known and beloved young journalists was killed today by an Israeli-backed militia. Saleh was covering clashes between Israeli-backed militias and Hamas security forces in Gaza City when he was kidnapped, beaten, and executed. His murder reveals how Israel's genocidal agenda persists beyond the ceasefire, leaving behind a Gaza torn apart by Israeli interference and encouraged corruption. Saleh had previously spoken about his life being threatened. He later confided with friends that Israeli-backed gangs might kill him. He had said that if Israel doesn't kill him, the Israeli-backed gangs would probably kill him, and they did. He's the latest of 270 journalists killed by Israel, and it is the most journalists ever killed in modern warfare, but because there weren't that many journalists, and if there were, you wouldn't know who they were back in the 1800s and before that. It's the most journalists ever killed in any conflict, ever. Beats out World War II, beats out everything. It just absolutely way more journalists killed, because this is the first time journalists have been targeted at this level. There's been other wars where they could have been targeted, more recent ones, like in Ukraine. Maybe there could have been some level of targeting in Afghanistan or Iraq, but there could have been efforts to target journalists in other. But believe it or not, both sides of other wars have not been as fucking evil in modern times as Israel has, and literally just bombed journalists over and over and over again. Totally repulsive. Thank you, Pops, for becoming a YouTube member. I do love when people become YouTube members. The better thing, if you're able to also do this, is become a member at leecamp.net, my locals page, because you get all kinds of community perks and everything over there. But thank you, Pops, so much for supporting the show. We are crazy suppressed. I might have time a little later to bring you another quick story on just how ridiculously suppressed we are. Because it is great to see. One more. This is kind of a good news story on connected to the ceasefire. The first segment that Barry Weiss has created has been the pitch and the creation, the producer behind at CBS News. Now that this pro-genocide lunatic, unhinged lunatic, is now the head of CBS News, thanks to Larry Ellison, the richest man alive, who has now bought CBS News and made it a crazy, bloodthirsty Zionist mouthpiece. The first segment Barry Weiss has created for CBS News was, well, initially it was going to be a roundtable with Antony Blinken, Mike Pompeo, and Hillary Clinton, but it ended up being just Clinton and Condoleezza Rice in talks about the ceasefire. Of course, the two of them agree on everything because they're both U.S. imperial warmongers. And when this was posted, it had 150 views on YouTube. I just checked it a minute ago, and now it has 14,000 views, which is still, for CBS, that is nothing. For a non-suppressed mainstream network with millions of subscribers, 14,000 is fucking pathetic. But on top of that, when it was live, it had 150 viewers. And if you count the 24/7 CBS live stream, then the total was 1,200 viewers. Essentially, no one watched this. For if you look at the actual rubric of non-suppressed mainstream channels. So it is nice to see Barry Weiss already flopping over at CBS News. Now that means nothing about them like getting rid of her or anything, because this is what they want. They want her putting forward pro-Israel garbage. Doesn't matter how many viewers it gets, because they'd love for it to get a lot, but if it doesn't get a lot, they're going to keep pumping this shit out, because that's what propaganda is. Okay, let me move on for a few minutes from the ceasefire, and we're going to get to how the Nobel Prize was just awarded to basically Israel's attempt to coup Venezuela, because you gotta love that Nobel Committee. But before I say that, a couple of quick announcements. One is I'm performing in New York City. It's official. I actually have a stand-up comedy show. I haven't really tried to have any in a while because of everything that's been going on. But New York City, me and John F. O'Donnell performing live. This is a tiny venue. We're not, I'm not doing a big theater or anything. I'm just, it's cash, man. We're doing it cash. It's me and John F. O'Donnell, as well as Andrews Lee and Allie O'Neill at the Cobra Club in Brooklyn. This is December 12th. And again, there's, I think it's like 50 tickets. It's not like we wanted to do a small little thing. So if you are thinking of getting tickets for this, then I would grab them soon, because they might not be around for very long. Anyway, December 12th, would love to see you there. Totally going to be a fun night. Me and John F. O'Donnell performing stand-up comedy, as well as special guests Andrews Lee and Allie O'Neill. Come on. Come hang out with us. Why not? That's New York City. You might be wondering how to find this link. You know what? I will, I'm going to put it in the chat, and it is on Eventbrite. So maybe you can search Eventbrite for Lee Camp, John F. O'Donnell. But then I will eventually, by the next live stream or something, I will have a better link that is easy to find. Because I haven't really, maybe I'll tweet this out as well. So if you go to my Twitter after this show is over, then please do. Then find the tickets there. So I want to tell you that. I also wanted to tell you that I'm giving away a free month if you join up at leecamp.net, my locals page. Free month. Support the show, even though you won't be paying anything. Free month. You'll get my ebook, Dangerous Ideas, for free as well. I will email that to you. All of that, if you just go to leecamp.net, scroll down to become a supporter. Let's see. I'll pull it up here for you to show you what it looks like. And again, you get a free month if you use promo code LeeCampFree. So here's what the page looks like. Don't click the big become a member, because that's more confusing. Scroll down to the little one that says become a supporter. Click become a supporter. Once you're on that page, you can change this to monthly. So it says $6. But when you click this little promo code thing, you can put in LeeCampFree, one word, all caps, and get it for free. Free month, and my ebook for free, and all the other perks, which I often do, extra segments, etc. So hope you'll do that to support this show. Okay, let's keep going here. This is who they gave the Nobel Prize to. Oh, hold on. I wanted to show you NPR's coverage of it first. Here we go. Nobel Prize winner Machado says Venezuela is in chaos under its current regime. Venezuelan opposition leader and Nobel Peace Prize winner Maria Corina Machado said in an interview that Venezuela is in chaos. Now, who is she, and how did she get a Nobel Peace Prize? I wonder what she's doing that's so special. Well, here's the truth about Machado. The Nobel Peace Prize winner has called for a U.S. military intervention in Venezuela, meaning she has called for the bloodiest war machine in the world to attack her own country. There is no arguing with the fact that we are the bloodiest war machine in the world, considering we have killed 6 million people just in the global war on terror. Way more even than Israel's killed in Gaza. We are the bloodiest war machine in the world. She has asked them to invade her home country. What does that tell you about her? She has called for sanctions, which also kill people, to be imposed on Venezuela. Sanctions have killed tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands in Venezuela. The last estimate from the UN rapporteur was 100,000 people killed in Venezuela by U.S. sanctions. She has expressed support for the genocide in Gaza. So good lady. Peace Prize material all up and down. I'd say if you're printing out that resume, put on there, I support the genocide. How about a Peace Prize? Huh? You know, you look at her awesome resume and you wonder, why didn't Donald Trump get one? Huh? Well, what? He supports genocide. Why did he get a Peace Prize? You know, he's murdered tons of people. He loves the U.S. war machine. Why didn't he get a Peace Prize? Seriously. She sought backing from mass murderer Netanyahu for a military intervention in Venezuela. She wanted Netanyahu to invade her country. Again, great Peace Prize material. Celebrated the U.S. extrajudicial executions of Venezuelans on boats, meaning she is celebrating that the U.S. is bombing Venezuelan boats that they claim have drug runners, but there's really no evidence they have drug runners. But even if they did have drug runners, that is not actually a capital offense. There's no reason to murder people with drugs, even if you don't like drugs. Like, I don't like car theft. But if every time someone stole a car in the U.S., a drone bomb blew up the car, I'd have a problem with that. I'd have a real problem with that. I don't like when a guy takes a lollipop from a child. Like, I think that's super wrong and mean and illegal. If a drone bomb blew that guy up, I'd have an issue. I'd have an issue with it right away. Right away, I have an issue. So she supports the U.S. just obliterating, bombing, killing innocent people off the coast of Venezuela. This is who just got the Nobel Peace Prize, named after the inventor of dynamite. That's who created the Nobel Peace Prize, the man who invented dynamite. Good on him. What a great legacy he has. And now it's used to give a peace prize to war criminals like Henry Kissinger, Obama, etc. Here is this is actually the former IMF executive director, Paulo Nogueira Batista.
Well, as I said, I think the Nobel Peace Prize loses credibility when it awards it to a lady, a politician, an opposition leader in Venezuela. It has no claim to that. No claim to that. I mean, in a world where you have Gaza, where you have so many people fighting against the genocide in Gaza, not to award them the Peace Prize and award a politician of Venezuela that is in effect Washington controlled. I mean, so it's really goes to show how European institutions, including the Nobel Prize, are being completely discredited.
That's the former head of the IMF saying that. This is how much credibility the Nobel Peace Prize has lost. The former head of the IMF is like, this shit be fucked up. The former head of the IMF is like, what the hell are they thinking? Why would they give that lady a Nobel Peace Prize? That's what the former head of the IMF said. And that's his accent, too. Not sure where he's from, but I like it. Let's also hear what Professor Jeffrey Sachs, has to say about Machado. Now, I am going to play this video because it's 2 minutes long. I'm going to play it on a little faster speed, but I think it'll still be plenty hearable, if that's a word.
So the U.S. government has been trying to strangle the Venezuelan economy. It started with sanctions in 2017 that prevented essentially the country from accessing international capital markets and the oil company from restructuring its loans. That put Venezuela into a hyperinflation. That was the utter collapse Oil earnings plummeted. The earnings that are used to buy food and medicine collapsed. That's when the social humanitarian crisis went spiraling out of control. And then in this year is with this idea, very naive, very stupid in my view, that there would be this self-proclaimed president, which was all choreographed with the United States very, very closely. Another round of even tighter sanctions, essentially confiscating the earnings and the assets of the Venezuelan government took place. Now Venezuela is in complete, utter catastrophe. A lot of it brought on by the United States deliberately, creating massive, massive suffering. We know there's hunger. We know there's incredible shortage of medical supplies. We can only imagine, because we won't know really until the dust settles and careful studies are done, how much excess mortality there is. But surely in a context like this, this is a catastrophe largely created by the U.S. because, as was said earlier, this is an all or nothing strategy. What Trump just doesn't understand, and what Bolton, of course, never agrees to, is the idea of negotiations. This is an attempt at an overthrow. It's very crude, it's not working, and it's very cruel because it's punishing 30 million people.
So that was him talking, I think, back when they tried to make Guaido president of Venezuela. And of course, he's right about all that. The sanctions are gut-wrenching and have destroyed the Venezuelan economy. And sanctions are deadly. People act like sanctions are just a friendly, cuddly way to kill people. They're not harmful. So why did the Nobel Prize Committee do this? Well, it's actually an effort to help the U.S. coup Venezuela, because the part of the problem with the attempted Guaido putsch, with the attempted, effort to put Guaido in as president, was that no one in the U.S. or around the world had heard of him. Most Venezuelans didn't know who he was. He had never received a single vote for president of Venezuela. And so when you had that moment where the U.S. said, we're announcing that Guaido is the head of Venezuela, the president of Venezuela, you had the entire world going, who the fuck? What the who? Who the what? And you had a large percentage of Venezuelans going, who the what? Who? Who's president of Venezuela? And that is a large part of the reason that coup attempt failed. So what they're doing now is they're realizing, okay, we have to create some sort of heralded figure to be waiting in the wings for when we create the coup, for when we either take out Maduro militarily, try and make they already been trying to make the economy so bad that people rise up in Venezuela. But the problem is people in Venezuela, the vast majority of them, are educated on what it is they're fucking fighting. What the fact that they're against this U.S. imperial effort to destroy their country. Most of them understand that. And that's part of the problem. That's why you haven't seen a huge number of people rising up and saying, yeah, U.S., invade our country, kill our people. But the U.S. thinks, Trump administration and most of the Democrats too, think that, well, if you create a figure that looks like they are wonderful and they won the Peace Prize, they're the Mother Teresa, which was another propaganda effort, but I don't think she cooed anybody. But this Mother Teresa figure, then we'll have someone ready to install when we continue to commit this kind of slow motion coup in Venezuela. So this Nobel Prize is part of this effort. It is part of creating a coup that will work better than the Guaido coup that was such a catastrophic and laughable failure, as everybody around the world was like, who is this fucking frat boy that literally went to Georgetown University in the United States and he's the president of Venice? What the fuck are you talking about? They're trying to basically create a better version of that, and that is what Machado has to do with, and what the Peace Prize has to do with. And here is Politico's effort to explain what's going on, but of course their propaganda as well. So Trump has a different plan to oust Maduro this time around. In his second term, Trump is targeting Maduro directly. Sorry, not directly, differently. And his message is uncharacteristically for Trump, less direct. So not directly. Sorry, I misspoke. Even though Trump continues to say Maduro is an illegitimate leader, he has said, we're not talking about regime change in Caracas. Why are they doing that? Why is Trump doing that? Why is he lying? The reason he's lying is probably because they're planning various things to kill Maduro or kidnap him or something else. And they want to have some little, we didn't do it. It had nothing to do with the United States. And the U.S. has tried this before, right? The Bay of Piglets was supposed to be not connected to the U.S. empire. We ultimately found the receipts that showed that the Bay of Piglets, that the captured mercenaries trying to invade Venezuela, was connected to the U.S. government, but it was not supposed to be. They're looking for those kind of hands-clean coups that they can commit. Anyway, he said, we're not talking about regime change in Caracas. Instead, he's emphasizing the longstanding accusations that the strong man, this propaganda is so, the propaganda manual is so fucking old. It's tired. It's ripped up. Why anyone you don't like is a strong man? Trump's not a strong man? The fuck? Netanyahu's not a strong man? What does strong man mean? It's just something you call people that you're supposed to say are bad. Then he says accusations that the strong man is a drug lord. He's not, but that's the propaganda. And a dangerous criminal. Also not, but that's the propaganda. The plan, people familiar with the situation tell me, is to force Maduro out as part of Trump's ongoing fight against drug cartels. And this is kind of what I've been saying, which is the reason Trump is blowing up these drug boats that he claims are drug boats off of Venezuela is not because he gives a shit about drugs or boats or fishermen or even fishermen Venezuelans. None of that. It's that he's trying to evoke, trying to do two things. One is evoke a response from Venezuela, and two is get the U.S., get the American people to think that we are in an ongoing hot war with drug cartels in Venezuela. It is so laughably ridiculous, but that is the aim. And unfortunately, most Americans, thanks to our horrible media, are idiots at least on this topic. And so most Americans will believe that. Sure, narco-terrorism, whatever that term means, is taking over Venezuela. We need to stop them or else our kids will get high. My kid Johnny once saw sparkles in the air. So we need to blow up a bunch of people in Venezuela. My daughter danced for 7 hours straight. So we need to murder some fishermen. God damn it. The effort has included labeling such groups as terrorist organizations, carrying out military strikes against alleged drug-carrying boats from Venezuela. At least they added alleged in there. Raising the U.S. bounty on Maduro's head for $50 million. Yeah, we're not talking about regime change. We just put a $50 million bounty on the head of a president. And cutting off diplomatic talks with Caracas. Trump has many plans available to him, including ones calling for airstrikes against drug targets on Venezuelan soil. Again, trying to create a hot war with Venezuela. But he has issued no order to directly take out Maduro. Of course, if there were such an order, they wouldn't say it publicly. So him saying he hasn't issued that means nothing. Still, one person familiar with the discussion suggested that if Maduro is considered a drug lord and a terrorist, he could become a fair target. Oh, so if we made up a thing to say he is, then we get to murder him. Perfect. It's just like Saddam Hussein. Doesn't mean Saddam Hussein was good, but the things we accused him of, like yellow cake uranium, bullshit. Like committing 9/11, bullshit. Like anthrax, bullshit. So I'm not saying I love Saddam Hussein. I'm just saying the things we accused him of in order to go in there, murder 1 million people, and murder him, those things weren't true. And then this is an anonymous source inside the Trump administration said, don't we go after indicted narco traffickers and terrorists all the time? ? Don't we make up something and then murder those people? Oh, my God. So now you understand what this Nobel Peace Prize has to do with and why they're pushing it right now. Why they give a Nobel Peace Prize to someone that no one had ever heard of around the world in a country that has nothing to do with the largest area of a fight for peace, which is Gaza, a fight for people not to be murdered. Like the number of people that have devoted their lives to trying to stop that genocide, the Nobel Committee could have given that prize to loads of them. All those people trying to stop a genocide, putting their lives on the line, and many of them being murdered by Israel. All of those people, fucking give them a Nobel Peace Prize. Sure, but they give it to a U.S. asset trying to create war in her own country. I mean, it is so repulsive. The Nobel Peace Prize has become just the polar opposite of anything connected to peace. It is so laughable. Really. We could take betting odds on who the next Nobel Peace Prize would go to, and you'd be like, okay, well, just let's find out who created the largest body count. And then those betting odds are pretty good. You got Trump, Netanyahu, maybe he'll get it. Maybe Yoav Gallant, maybe Smotrich. Maybe we'll give it to fucking Anthony Blinken. All right, I normally do the extra segment only for everybody at Locals. I'm going to cram in a little extra segment here because I need to wrap up soon and don't want to go through the rigmarole. I also have a cold I'm fighting, all this shit. So I'm just going to give you the extra segment right now, which is about my censorship. I just recently saw the analytics on just how censored my Facebook page is. Many of you perhaps have heard me mention that my Facebook page used to be my biggest platform, had 330,000 followers as of 2016. It has had around 330,000 followers ever since 2016. Now, there's different ways to suppress and shadow ban people. And I had thought, it had been pretty evident that for a long time, they just wouldn't show my posts to people, right? People couldn't even see my posts. So I'd put up a post, get 10 shares. 330,000 people, you get 10 shares. But check this out. Recently, I've put up some more columns on Facebook, and they've been doing better. So they've gotten a few more views. So the past 3 columns that I've put on Facebook had a total of 57,689 views. Okay, not bad. It's not much for a page with 330,000 followers, but I'll take it. Okay, not awful. Now look, here's the analytics for one of those columns. 18,000 views, 0 net follows, meaning nobody followed my Facebook page from this column getting 18,000 views. Does that seem, wow, what a coincidence, okay? You want the coincidence gets even bigger. Here's the next column, 20,450 views, 0 net follows. Nobody followed my page despite 20,450 views. And they also show you how many of those are non-followers, meaning they weren't already following. So that's 37%. So that's thousands and thousands of people read this column. No one followed my page. There were no net follows. Next column, 18,740 views, 0 net follows. So you can see that at least for these columns, the way the shadow banning works is people may click follow, but then Facebook immediately drops someone off following my page. And that person that's dropped will never know it unless they go check. So, and it also means that following my page becomes basically meaningless. If you're just going to be knocked off or if it doesn't matter. And this is also how my page has stayed at the same number for 2016, almost 10 years, 9 years. Thank you, Joan Bone, for joining up. Appreciate it. But there you are from Facebook's own analytics showing just how thoroughly I am shadow banned. And, I try to keep this show going. Thank you guys for helping me do that. I live stream 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern, and you can watch it afterwards. And you just gotta set it, put it in your calendar, because as I'm showing with Facebook, they're not going to alert you. They might even unsubscribe you. You just got to put it in your calendar. And also, it would be amazing if, what was I going to say? You just got to show up. Can't remember. You can watch it after the fact. Oh, I also wanted to say, join up at leecamp.net. The live streams now are only public for everyone for like a day or two, and then they become for members. So if you tend to watch these live streams later, then it would be awesome if you could become a member and support the show. Also, check out the podcasts. It's called Lee Camp Show on Spotify, or it's called Moment of Clarity on all other podcast platforms. And I will see you on Wednesday. And there'll be a new Unredacted tonight, this week. Keep fighting.
Well, brother, I salute you, though, man. You're one of the few that bring together this tremendous artistic talent and still be in such deep solidarity with oppressed people.
It's an honor to be here because I'll tell you, Lee, you have one of the funniest shows on television, bar none.
It's an enormous pleasure to be here. While I was waiting, I was leafing through your wonderful book.
The same to you. I love your show. Be happy to come back anytime.
Lee, this is one of the great honors of my long career, just to be in the same earth with you.
I'm sure.
We're just so blinded. We have so many blinders on because our society doesn't want us to know things. And so it takes shows like your show, and
it is clearly designed to eradicate.
Hey, good to see you.
Hey, Jill, how are you? Julian, thanks for joining me. Honor to have you, brother.
Consumerism is a theory that people should behave this way to help each other. It's not.
Mr. George Galloway, thank you so much for joining me in these dark times.
Always a pleasure, my friend.
Thank you so much, Lee, for having me on. Keep fighting. Ha ha.